Chapter 1. Now. Everybody be cool. This is a robbery. Santa Claus tore off his beard and Christmas cap as he shouted, bellowing and waving a semi-automatic weapon at everyone inside the crowded bank. Gasps and muted screams filled the lobby. Behind him, a chubby, elderly elf with a cigarette in his mouth cocked 2 pistols as he covered the entrance. Next to Santa, an attractive lady elf opened the suitcase, muttering, "I do not understand these asinine outfits. It's Christmas." "No, it isn't, you moron. It's Valentine's Day," Don Rothlanders III shouted at him. Santa Claus peered around back at the old man elf. Sully puffed on his smoke, nodded. "The lass is right, you bloody wanker." The man in red looked around at the financial institution's patrons. "Well, happy Valentine's Day." When he raised his hands to emphasize this, he accidentally squeezed the trigger and blew a small hole in the roof, sending chunks of alabaster and marble crashing to the bank floor. More muted screams and gasps from the nervous customers and employees. An alarm began to wail. "Sorry about that. Still new to the hole." The bank manager gathered his courage, evaluated the situation, and rose to his feet. "Please." "Oi!" Sully swerved his Glock 9mm toward him. "What do you think you're doing?" "Please, listen. I'm the branch manager. I'll give you everything we have. Just take it all and leave. Nobody needs to get hurt." The crowd in the bank witnessed Santa saunter over to him, carefully aiming his gun at the floor. "Remarkable plan. All I need today is a withdrawal, and I believe you have an account here set up for me already." The confused bank manager shook his head in disbelief. "What? Fine. We can do that. What's the number?" "Try looking under the man in red." Then, the man in red stared down at his hands quietly. They faintly glowed an eerie, iridescent red. He was trying to remind himself of something. His eyes crackled scarlet electricity when he remembered Dawn. Then he turned around and took her pulse. He sat the unconscious D3 up. Sully looked on worriedly, not sure if this was the best idea. "Is she?" "She's fine. Only asleep. I was regenerating." He struggled for words. "I grabbed her, right? I fell. She fell. And my temporal restoration energy. Why is it so hard to think?" The stranger in the crimson suit took in his surroundings. The alien, almost overwhelmed by the superhuman amount of data he was being fed by his nearly infinite enhanced senses. "The Beatles have started playing. We're fairly close to the Metropolitan Police Department, so we may not have much time." Sully tilted his head. That's right. Who are you then, son? Some friend of travelers? Another Time Lord all red and not blue? Like some bloody children's line of toy action men, all zooming around about space?" "I don't know," the partial amnesiac Time Lord answered. "And I don't know. I have a couple of questions for you. Where's my damn hat? Why do you sound English?" "What hat? We're in Britain, you right fool. You've just now said it so yourself." "I need to find Project." The man in red began to awaken D3. "I bet she's getting tired of this. Seems like she's constantly getting knocked out and carried around." "Purge or D3? "Both, damn it. How do I know that? Captain. Capacitor. Craptacular. No, not craptacular." Sully put a calming hand in the air. "Take it easy there, lad. Is Dawn going to be all right? What happened to the seat? Where's her bloody avatar, TARDIS?" Commander." "What are you on about, you daft git?" "The Commodore?" "On the Commodore." Sully watched D3 stir. She was lightly groaning. "That's right. You never ever let anyone ever forget. Never." "Oi!" "Quiet, Commodore." D3 snapped awake. "Oh my God! I thought I was dead. She forced herself up on unsteady legs, then threw her arms around the Time Lord's neck. "Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my God. I have no idea how that bitch took over my... The man in red patted her back gently. "You're all right? Hey, listen to me. You're all right. You're fine." "I'm happy to see you, love." The retired Commodore placed a hand on D3's shoulder gently. "I thought you were... Well, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." He stopped to take a deep breath, as his eyes had begun watering. D3 hugged Sully, then stepped away to look herself over. She was trying to hide her own tears as they struggled against her. "I saw everything that happened. I felt myself running as fast as I could. Felt myself hit Mr. Blue." Her voice wavered. "Felt myself hit the..." "Okay, enough of that." The man in red slowly took D3's face in his glowing crimson hand. "You're as good as new. No need to hold on to that memory, so let it go." In the distance, the new Time Lord in the scarlet suit could hear interest being garnered toward their location. In particular, what was all that screaming and the big explosion of light? Were people jumping off buildings while simultaneously holding fireworks? He turned to Sully and D3. "Where's Pudge?" "On the roof," Sully said. "We have quite the..." The man in red smiled and snapped his fingers, blasting a bright, crackling crimson flash. There was penetrating quiet. Voices up the street were getting louder. D3 finally looked over the Time Lord, observing, "That was sparkly." "Shall we get up onto the roof then, laddie?" Sully offered. The man in red lost his smile, snapping his fingers a few more times with a similar, bright scarlet static shock-like effect. "Should have brought Project right to me. Am I doing it wrong?" D3 and Sully began to book it to the entrance of the empty office building. The Time Lord pondered his glowing fist. "That should have..." "Oh, come on then," Sully bellowed from inside. "Well, that should have worked." On the roof, Traveler's companions stood motionless. Sully was confused. D3 was bleary and just wanted to lay down. The man in red finally made it to the rain-slicked rooftop and flipped open his crimson trench coat, throwing his fists deeply down into his pockets. A wide grin was on his face as he stooped over slightly and shuffle-stepped in front of Purge. "Like it?" he asked the pair, hopefully. He suddenly lost his grin. "Because I don't." Sully stared at what was now Purge, but she looked, in the retired Commodore's opinion, a bit too familiar. The Time Lord patted the side of the red British phone booth. Instead of windows to see inside the booth, however, Purge had mirrors. "Still, she'll blend in. Occasionally, I guess." "So, change it again," D3 said. "Not the way it works. The chameleon circuit only functions at 33%, which means Purge can only change her outer plastic shell in the event of a massive power surge, such as when I..." The man in red waited hopefully, looked at his friends. Nothing. He finally finished, sarcastically. "When I regenerate. Anyone? Time Lord power? Yeah." He snapped his fingers again, recreating the sparkly red flares. This time, Purge's door popped open. "Much better than walking through a stupid holographic wall," D3 noted. "An upgrade. Thank you." As she walked inside, Purge's overhead intercom system could be heard to reply. "None of my walls are stupid, you cow." The Crimson Time Lord stepped into Purge. Sully followed. Struck by the vastly different interior, he lit a smoke to help him think for a moment, help him assimilate this totally radical change. Inside the red phone booth exterior of the time machine was an immense, yet soft, relaxing lounge. Huge sangria and brick-colored love seats, along with similarly colored fluffy pillows, matched the enormous magenta-hued walls. The control console was retro. Mahogany panels on the lectern, which was now shorter, more simplified. The levers and incomprehensible dials were the color of ruby and wine. These were crowded around the vast time rotor, a monolithic stone of blood-red coral, marbled with crackling pink electrical currents. The Time Lord in the crimson suit pressed a single button. A matching fedora materialized on the time rotor. He giddily snatched it up, sliding it down on his head as he closed his eyes, looking extremely self-satisfied. "Fetch, open Jade's old room," he ordered. "Who's Jade?" D3 asked. The man in red said nothing. A sliver of metal emerged from the glowing scarlet console. It suddenly flung itself far against the wall, attaching and then grew to become a doorway. Punching away at the futuristic red terminal, the alien didn't bother to look up as he spoke. "D3, take a break. Go get some food. Get a..." "She's gone." Sully stubbed out his cigarette. The Time Lord glanced over to see that Dawn Rothlanders III shut the door behind her. "Listen, Sully folded his hands behind his back. He was looking down at the floor as he spoke. "I don't like talking about the time, bitch." "Deceit." Sully nodded. "Yes, quite. She was inside of D3, using her body like a puppet, while D3 was trapped in a nightmare." The man in red nodded. Yes, I've forgotten." He closed his scarlet eyes. "It's coming back to me." "Where is she? Is she finally bloody gone, your renegade temporal Mordor?" "No," the alien quickly replied. Then he sighed. "She transferred herself into me the instant before we impacted the street. When the regeneration triggered, I had enough power to stop her." He looked down as well. "That just sounds as fantastic." "I said stop her, Sully. Stop is not the same thing as destroy." The man in red tapped his temple. "Deceit is in here now. For the time being, that is good enough. But..." He trailed off. Sully, exhausted, plopped down on a feather-soft couch the color of an apple. "What is on, son?" "Deceit has become a time bomb, sitting right in my head. And one day, well, she's gonna explode." The retired Commodore looked at him. "But not today." "Maybe even take over an entire incarnation." "Not today," Sully implored. The man in red nodded. Input coordinates. "Not today, you old fart." Sully heard the mechanical angel choir as Purge shuddered briefly, dematerializing. "Where to? And please tell me we're finally going to watch an all-nude women's beach volleyball." "Sycamore Downs." "Oi, why in the bleeding hell are we going back there again?" "I have the Checo Nicholas Baker and the Nestine Consciousness. See how they're doing, now that the little temporal war with deceit is over." "Really? We just escaped the madness now? You want to take us right back?" "I said the war is over, Sully. The village has been restored. Oh, sure, Nicholas is a capable caretaker, I'm certain. Doesn't mean I can't leave the Avatar there for an all eternity, disguised as Monroe's Tavern, without checking in occasionally, right?" Sully's face crackled in a wide grin. "You devil, you! How'd you manage that?" "I'll explain later." The man in red smiled. "Oh, Sully, don't let me forget to pick up a Santa Claus suit.